in reflecting on our year and planning the coming year, we thought this was a really good time on staff to sort of take a breath and share with all of you in one sort of concise time together the things that we heard from all of you, how we acted on those, things that we're still working on, and how we have sort of checked in with you along the way, including the more recent survey that was completed, and how that recent survey has further informed our work going forward. So what we plan to do today is a little bit of reflection, sort of a check-in as far as where we are now, how we are moving forward, and talk a little bit about what our plans are. And you have an opportunity today. We're going to be doing some breakout sessions for some conversation very informally later in our call. You'll have an opportunity, as we always try to focus on, to really help guide our programming and our work moving forward. So we would love to have input and ideas from you today. We're going to be carving out a little time for that in some small groups later in our call. So just wanted to let you know there's going to be some time for conversation today too. So the first thing I want to do is give us all a chance to just do quick introductions. So start thinking about that really quick. All we're going to do is your name, your class number, and where you are living right now. But before we do that, I do want to share, as is our ALF tradition, a land acknowledgement as well. And we're sharing one that we've put together specific to Portland. And I just want to acknowledge that land acknowledgements can be beloved, and also in some circles, not as much. So I just like to share my personal reflection on them in that I still really enjoy them. I love listening to different organizations' acknowledgements. And I really want to emphasize our invitation to you to do the work, to understand where you're from, to try to learn from the people who have been there longer than we can imagine. So please, please, please accept this invitation to go beyond this acknowledgement and dig deeper into where you are. We have tools to help you do that, and we're happy to share those with you. So I'll share our acknowledgement and ask you again to just join in digging deep into the history, the very long history of wherever you live as well. So we'd like to begin with acknowledging that in Portland, we are on the traditional village sites of the Multnomah, Cathlamet, Clackamas, bands of the Chinook, Tualatin, Kalapuya, Molalla, and many other tribes who made their homes along the Columbia River. We thank the descendants of these tribes for being the original stewards and protectors of this land and this water since time immemorial. We acknowledge that in Portland, Oregon has the 6th largest urban Native American population in the United States, with over 380 federally recognized tribes represented in the urban Portland metro area. We also acknowledge the systemic policies of genocide, relocation, and assimilation that still impact many Indigenous and Native American people and families today. We're honored by the collective work today of many Native nations, community members, and families who are demonstrating resilience, resistance, revitalization, leadership, healing, and creativity, and we're honored to be guests upon these lands. We invite you to reflect on and research the Indigenous stewards of the land and water wherever you are, to always remember that we are guests and that we have a responsibility to continue to steward these resources and acknowledge our history so that we can all heal together. So thank you for taking that time today. I want to give you a couple quick updates on our work in the Fellows Program and other work, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kelley, who has prepared a recap and a look forward. So just a couple of mentions. Currently, we are in full-blown recruiting mode. I'm spending a lot of time talking to amazing nominees in the program. So excited about the upcoming year. We are also wrapping up classes 37 and 38 in the next few months, which has been an incredible learning experience for all of us. We are so happy that these folks, including some of whom are on the call today, really stuck with us in a virtual space. And the feedback we've heard from them is that it has been a truly impactful experience. And these folks love each other just like we all do with our classes. And so it's just really been an amazing experience. So I want to acknowledge the folks who have hung with us this year. We have a commitment to them to get them together in person in the late summer, early fall. Those dates are set, they're all committed, and I'm so, so excited to gather them in person. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. It's going to be amazing. So thank you to all of you who have supported these classes and have partaken in them. We did learn that the Senior Fellow Network was very ready to connect statewide virtually this year. The one and only benefit I have seen of COVID has been the incredible connection we've made across the Senior Fellow Network through the virtual space. So many of you here today have been really involved with a lot of our programming, including leading programs, attending events, and helping us make decisions and do planning. So I want to acknowledge all that work. Kelley will be doing some of that by name today, but I just want to let you all know it's been a group effort, and the senior fellows have really been helping drive our work moving forward. And then, of course, I have to acknowledge Kelley and Melissa, who have been along a pretty bumpy but also very exciting ride over the last year and a half with me. And I know for certain I wouldn't choose any other people to be on this road walking alongside me. So thank you so much, Kelley and Melissa, for all of your support, work, encouragement, and just amazing perspectives that you bring to the work we do. The question we get asked most often is, are you planning the new classes in person? I will share that as soon, our perspective is as soon as possible. Like with the classes this year, we've been making decisions sort of month to month as we go, but as the vaccine rollout seems to be accelerating, not just in Oregon, but nationally, we continue to increase our hopes that we can convene in person. The classes begin in July. If it's possible to convene in person, then we will. We have community building week scheduled for August, and if we can do that in person, we will. We do have backup dates set for later in the year if that doesn't work out, so we'll be able to convene this class in the new classes in person one way or another, either sooner or later, but that will happen. So just wanted to give those quick updates as to where we are right now. At the end, I'll wrap up with a couple of things for you to plan for in your calendars in the future. So with that, I will just once again say thank you to all of you for being here today. Thanks for your interest in our work, and take it away, Kelley.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see so many of you. There was a late flurry of folks registering, so I love it. Thank you all for coming. Before I begin, I want you to put on your best ALF smile, and I'm going to take a couple screenshots just to be able to commemorate this fantastic group of people. And there are 2 pages of you all on my screen, so I love it. Okay, thank you for that. Let me do one more, actually, both pages. Okay, thank you. Next up, I need 5 volunteers. There's going to be a moment when I will ask people to read, so it'll be in just a few moments. So if you can wave your hand if you're willing to read, and keep in mind that I have 2 screens, so you may have to keep your hand up. And if I don't see any, Hector, thank you. Hector will read number 1, Melissa. Number 2, let me go over to the second page here. Or maybe it's the first page, actually. Oh, Debbie, thank you. Anybody else? Tom Fuller, number 3. Anybody else? Francis, thank you. I was going to volunteer you if you didn't do it. One more reader. I'm going to go over to my other page. I am going to nominate Ashley Henry. Are you willing to read something in just a moment? All right, it's very short. Ashley's number 5. All right, sorry about that, Ashley. Okay, thanks everybody. So now I'm gonna share my screen.
Sorry, Kelley, really quickly, I apologize.
Yeah.
I forgot for everybody to do their intros. I said we were going to do it, and then I forgot to invite you to do it. So let's just do that. I'll model good behavior, and I'll start. Lisa Watson, class 30, and I live in Portland. And you can just popcorn style around, unmute, and go ahead and go.
I'm Debbie. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm Debbie, class 38, also in Portland, and 18 days after having a newborn.
Oh, wow, amazing. Hector Miramontes, class 34. I'm currently in Guadalupe.
Judy Strand, class of 34. Hi, Hector. And I live in a little bit outside of Sandy in a town called Cherryville, Oregon. Great to see you all.
Pam Knowles. I'm Pam Knowles, class 22, and I live in Portland.
Hello, I'm Vicky Nakashima. I'm class 13, and I live in Camas, and I'm a member of the ALF board.
I'm Susan Castillo, class 16, and I live in Eugene.
Dave Weber, class 20. I live in Oregon City.
Wayman Winston, class 19. I live south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Cudahy, Wisconsin on the Great Lake of Michigan.
Nice.
I'm Sarah Guest, class 33, and I live in North Portland.
I'm Tom Fuller, class 1, and I live in Pacific City.
Bill Thorndike, class 8, and I live in Fern Valley with 4 of my wife's horses, all sea lion Holsteiners. There's Christopher Robin, Caprica, Cartier was the firstborn, and Chivas.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Cornett, class 9, and I live in Portland.
Hi, I'm Michael Mills. I'm in class 9 with Kathleen. I live in Mount Hood, Oregon, which is the upper Hood River Valley.
I'm Brandy Tuck. I'm in class 38, and I live in Portland, and this is Sylvie Bear.
This is Sylvia Hayes. I'm class 24, and I'm in Bend, Oregon.
Mike Marshall, class 31 in Northeast Portland, and I also get to serve on the board with Vicky.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessica Vega Peterson. I finally figured out how to take myself off mute. I'm in class 33 with Sarah, and I'm in East Portland.
Hey, John Cardenas. I am in class 37, and I live up in St. John's.
Greg Holmes. Oh, sorry. Greg Holmes, class 38, Grants Pass, Oregon.
Kristen.
Oh, go ahead. We wait and then
I know, right? I'm Kristen Connor, class of 36, and I'm in Portland.
And I'm Frances Portillo, class 15, and I live in North Portland. Sounds like there's a few of us. We have to get together.
Susan Taylor, class 30. I live in Blacksburg, Virginia.
Seattle Medmo, class 31. I live in Gresham.
I'm Jim Carnahan. I was in class 15. I live in Baker City now, but I lived in Bend when I took the ALF class.
Kelley and Melissa, I think we got everybody, if you guys want to go.
I'm Ashley Henry. I class 31, and I'm in Portland.
Sorry, Ashley.
That's all right.
Melissa Lampro. I'm the operations specialist at ALF, and I live out in Southeast Portland.
I'm Kelley Whitmore, program manager at ALF, and I'm in Portland too. All right, thanks, Lisa. I'm glad you did that. All right, we've got our volunteers ready to read in just a moment. I'm going to share my screen and sharing. There we go. All right, everybody can see that, right? I can only see a few people. Okay, great. So there we go. So in the fall of 2019, Lisa and I traveled the state of Oregon. We hosted 16 in-person listening sessions and a few over Zoom. We also asked senior fellows to do an engagement survey. And that was the result of our 2020-2022 engagement plan. It lives under the Senior Fellows tab on our website. And Melissa, if you can, maybe drop that into the chat so folks can can reference them for later if you'd like. So we're talking about today a summary of the recent engagement survey that many of you completed and the goals and accomplishments and updates for the plan for last year's plan. Thank you so much to everybody for being here today and for every time you provide your thoughtful input to us. It helps us advance our mission and connect to you all better. So here's where those volunteers come into play. There were about 87 people, senior fellows and fellows, that responded to the last engagement survey. And one of the questions was, how do you see ALF advancing its mission? And these are some quotes I selected. So whoever's reading number one.
Sure, that's me, Hector. Okay, number one. I see ALF Oregon intentionally investing in the leadership of a diversity of people around Oregon, building and engaging a leadership network, and convening people to talk about issues that matter, including race and fostering relationship and dialogue across difference.
I would love for us to host more peer learning sessions where we can just support each other through what we're going through.
Number three.
That was Tom. Oh, and you're muted, Tom, sorry.
Sorry, I feel as if the potential of ALF for me is to know who to call when I see a potential issue that can be solved proactively or a collaboration which could be developed. The power of relationships and common goals can be transformative.
One of the greatest assets to the ALF experience is the ability to grow in authentic ways without feeling the necessity of abandoning our own truths. It hopefully opens us up to accepting the realities that accompany the daily lives of other folks whose paths differ from ours.
I see ALF connecting Oregonians from the I-5 corridor to the rest of the state. ALF should create the opportunities necessary so understanding, compromise, and acceptance of local values is a priority for people across Oregon.
Awesome, thank you all. So from all of the outreach that we've done and from conversations we have with you all, there are strong themes. You all want to get to know each other. You want to honor and support the diversity of Oregon and ALF Oregon. There's a strong interest in coming together around dialogue, using and sharing that. And then tapping into the collective potential of the ALF Oregon network to benefit Oregon. And there's two areas that we get a lot of response around on using the collective potential of ALF. That's bridging the urban-rural divide and serving statewide policy in some way. So later we'll do small breakout groups and you'll have a chance to brainstorm around that. So what else? Last year was so big for ALF Oregon. Meeting virtually in 2020 surprised us all with meaning and connections. When Lisa and I did our listening sessions, we knew we had a chore ahead of us of engaging the entire state. We certainly don't want being Portland-centric to be part of our mission, but breaking through and realizing the value of gathering over virtually means that we can hold programs that benefit the whole state. Will we do events in person? Absolutely. As we can gather safely, we look forward to doing that. So, building on our mission to join and strengthen diverse leaders, serving the common good, and enhance leadership by building on the strengths of diversity and promotive collaborative problem solving within and among communities, and all of the feedback that we're getting in the past and here today. I'll go through our goals for this upcoming year as well as our accomplishments. So goal one, connect senior fellows living near one another. When we did the listening sessions, we were surprised that folks, maybe surprised, not surprised, that senior fellows didn't always know senior fellows in living near them. So with that and with the pandemic, we launched virtual gatherings. Some regions have taken care of, they do their own self-organized gathering, like Douglas County in Southern Oregon. Corvallis actually squeezed in some in-person gatherings before the pandemic started, but in other places we're doing virtual gatherings. We will continue to support virtual gatherings because still it can just be the easiest way for people to get together and stay connected. And during the upcoming classes, where, as Lisa said, we are hopeful we can gather in person, we will be inviting the network to the different places that we go around the state. So there will be hopefully an in-person gathering near most senior fellows. So goal 2, create affinity groups. So I highlighted here the groups that are already formed and in play. So, and some of them are just starting, I'll say, the nonprofit leaders group. They had one meeting during the pandemic, but regular meetings will start. And thanks to, but those are BIPOC monthly check-in, conversations on houselessness, white leaders for racial justice, the women's group, nonprofit leaders, and the self-identified LGBTQ plus social hour. And just to take a second to thank all those folks that are taking their time to lead these groups. So many different classes are represented. So Lisa, CM, Katie, Corey, Martha, Pam, and Mary, another Pam and Brandy Tuck, and then Stephanie Hooper and some others will be volunteering for conversations on houselessness. Thank you all so much. So the ones that are highlighted here are ones that we're working on getting off the ground. So I'll call your attention to this statewide policy group because about half the people that responded to this survey are interested in this. And that's one reason why we want to do breakout groups today on that. The other items, energy and natural resources, entrepreneurs, leading as an elected official, broadband expansion, and faith and spirituality. We may look to either forming groups or we may have some just discussions around those topics and see who shows up and see where the momentum takes us. So some plans and updates for creating affinity groups. We want to operationalize everything we've done so far. Like I said, we want to launch the most desired affinity groups or discussions of these groups. And then that last bullet, convene conversations on possible programs involving bridging the urban-rural divide and around state policy. We're going to start that today. And we'll hopefully we'll get some great ideas from you all. Goal 3, Camp ALF. So there in the listening sessions, we heard that a lot of folks wanted to gather again around the ALF curriculum and in the outdoors. So with the pandemic, we sidelined that. But just through the course of our work and conversations, there's possible whitewater rafting outfitters and possible camps identified to use once we can gather safely in person. Goal 4, create a senior fellow committee to explore and plan local focus weekends. So by that, we mean those weekends where senior fellows are invited to go to one community, just like you did in your ALF class, learn about that community with your fellows. With the pandemic, also, we weren't able to proceed with that, but senior fellows that were interested in that evolved into the program committee. And they brought us some really neat programming this past year. So I'm outlining all those on the screen now. Look for upcoming programming on the day of reunion as well. And just to always pause, we love to thank people, Sarah Guest, Zan, Sue Densmore, CM, Jake Gibbs, Kent Snyder, and Dave Weber. They gather once a month to brainstorm and plan activities. Thank you, thank you. Goal 5, our systems. What is a network without being able to connect to one another? I'll have Melissa read these out loud because Melissa really has done a lot of work keeping our systems in place. Lisa and I are so grateful for everything she does, so diligent. So Melissa, can I ask you to read these?
Absolutely. So goal 5 was to improve our systems and communication to better connect the senior fellows to each other and to the staff and the board. Our 2020 accomplishments included encouraging the network to update their contact information, sending out regular email updates, celebrating senior fellows on Facebook, that's my favorite part, actively pursuing grants for updates of our website and our user platform, promoting fellows nomination in electronic updates, and continuing to operationalize and improve procedures for affinity groups and engagement. And our 2021 plans and updates include continuing operationalizing all of the above and pursuing grants for updating our website and user platform.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, we are very much want to provide you with a better website and a better user platform so you can stay connected. So we're working on it. So the few last things, we are recruiting and leading and hoping to create just a stellar, impactful fellows program for our classes. And we, at the same time, very much want to continue to engage you all, the entire network, in advancing our mission, joining you and strengthening the diverse leaders of this network. We're also finishing up a very long project, the Urban Rural Connection Project. And as we wrap that up, new opportunities to advance our mission may arise. I'll take a second to share with you some things that are possible right now. We're exploring, and one is potential visits to agricultural infrastructure sites and forestry sites, so that urban, kind of like, so urban can learn more about rural, and then some other activities where potentially rural can learn more about urban. And then really we're all learning more about our amazing state and the economies within it, just so we can broaden our horizons and understand our state and each other better. So that's one thing that we hope to provide you some programming later this year. This spreadsheet is really, I'm sorry for the small font. It's really just to show you that Kelley, me, I do a lot of the senior fellow outreach. If you have any questions about the programming, I'm a great person to reach out to. Melissa, as I mentioned before, she does this incredible work keeping us organized, really trying to get folks to update your information in the database so people can reach out to you. And then all those boxes with stripes are what we all do. I want to emphasize that really that as a team of 3, we all do a lot of everything and rely on each other. So thank you to my teammates. And Lisa just continually is working on our fellows program, our curriculum, recruiting folks, and just the big vision for all of us. So there it is. These pictures are from our listening sessions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We gathered in Portland, Gresham, Medford, Eugene, and LeGrand, and other communities, but that's where these pictures are taken from. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And the next 2 parts are, 1, any general questions that you all have. And then I want to allow some good time for us to break out into small groups. And so maybe while folks have questions, I'm going to tell you the instructions for how we're going to break out into small groups. So if you are interested in being in a conversation about the urban-rural divide, I'm going to ask you to change your name to starting with a UR. If you're interested in talking more about state policy, I'm going to ask you to change your name so that your name starts with SP, and so that your name still appears, but it starts with either a UR or an SP. And that way, Melissa will divide us into small groups. We want about 3 or 4 people per group. And you all can brainstorm. And from that, we'll ask you everyone to, we'll all come back with just a few minutes left to share your favorite, share your best ideas from the group. And that'll be like 1 or 2. We have a lot of folks. So I'm loving seeing all these UR and SP at the beginning of your names. So folks can decide that while you change your name. And if you're left at the end, then we'll figure it out. But
Kelley,
yeah,
there's a request to just do a quick refresher on how to do that. Do you want to do that? Just tell people how to do it.
Yes, I'm so glad. Yes. So if you go, I changed my name. I take my little hand, my cursor that looks like a finger, and I put it on me, on myself. Then there's 3 dots. If you press the 3 dots, what the second to last option is called rename. And I am going to rename myself now. You are Kelley Whitmore. And it's done. And then I just press return.
Kelley, I think you forgot to say that you need to right click there.
Okay.
Melissa, did you see Brandy's note?
Oh yeah, so I click on mine, I do, and it might be a little different because the folks are on your iPad or whatnot. When on mine, I just click on the 3 dots, and I get rename.
For anyone that is joining by phone, you can click on participants, and in there you'll notice that your name appears. You'll click on your name, and then you have an option to rename. Just that's me. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And don't fret, because if Melissa will divide us up, then they'll have a moment to actually vocalize which one you want to do. This is an experiment. This is brand new. Okay, so but I'll just open the floor. There are questions folks have right now, or do you want to just dig into the small group discussion?
I think a little bit more direction, Kelley, just sort of like, yeah. So if you want to give it, or I can, either way.
So if you can rename yourself, and I'll just say what the goal is first. Rename yourself, either you are at the beginning of your name, like mine is, or and that's for urban rural. That means you want to be in a breakout discussion with 2 or 3 other people that are interested in talking about the urban rural, bridging the urban rural divide. If you're interested in state policy, and this is so broad and big, that's one reason why we're tossing this to you all, but then put an SP at the beginning of your name. And that way, when Melissa goes to divide up the groups, she will put you in groups with other SP or other UR. And so I'm just going to pause and stop talking for a second and see if anybody has any questions, or if you want me to do any more.
I think I'll just add, if that's okay, Kelley, the goal of the breakout sessions is really a brainstorming. So just to frame this, it's what we're looking for are ideas or best practices you've seen for programming. So you are our ad hoc program committee today. So what we want you to do is give us ideas for ways we can dive deeper into these 2 subjects. So if you really have some great ideas about the way we can deliver programming around the urban rural communities, connections and divisions, that might look a ton of different ways. And so what we're coming to you for is ideas for directions that could go. Statewide policy, even more vague, right? So we want to know what you want to know. Do you want to know, do you want to learn how to be an advocate? Do you want to help other people advance legislation? Do you want to just learn about how state policymaking works? Or do you want to do something really advanced? Do you want to lead a conversation around policymaking? So it's really, we are just trying to get your best ideas, or just brainstorming ideas. There's no such thing as a bad one right now, but just trying to collect ideas. And then when we come back together, we'll just ask each group to give us back 2 or 3 of the things that you think are just really stellar thoughts. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you. And I put some questions in the chat for your group to consider. You can talk about whatever you want, but if these questions are helpful, by all means. All right. Do we have any questions just about the plan or any processes right now? Or do you want to just dive into the breakout rooms?
Let's just dive in.
Let's dive in. All right. So Melissa has the controls. Melissa, do you need,
I'm all set, ready. Yep.
You good?
We'll do Kelley about 10 minutes.
Yep, about 10 minutes, maybe even 12. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll send you guys just a warning a few minutes ahead of time before I pop you all out of the groups. All right, here we go then. I hope I didn't bring everybody back mid-sentence there.
We were having a good conversation. We just got started. So here's the, if we could take the last few minutes, and I'm going to ask folks to, I'm going to send out a survey, and please take that seriously, because whatever you said in your group, I'd love for you to just share it with me. But I will just say that in our group, talking, we had a great group, very different, and we have our own, we could just start talking with our group and doing more of it. So if I could just ask other groups to step up, maybe let's do the urban rural first and then switch over to state policy. So other urban rural groups, just
Michael's ready.
Michael's ready.
Yeah, I was just gonna say our group really put a lot of emphasis on broadband access. And we tend to forget sometimes, me talking about myself, as I forget it's not just a rural issue, it's Silverton, it's Oregon City. And it's the issue is important in education, access to education. It's a human rights issue, it's an equity issue. And we were looking for guidance. How do we, I know that there's been the broadband group, how do the other members here connect in and follow up on what's been done so far and help promote that group's work? Oh, and the last thing too was tribal connections in their communities, everything from even elections and registering to vote. So that was also an issue. Thanks.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, my group, there are a couple things. One is the observation about how the urban-rural divide has become racialized, that race has become a more prominent issue, and that there really ought to be some way of evaluating how urban communities and rural communities are interconnected and benefit from one another, and then to maybe spin off with a project that evolves from that discussion where there's some mutual understanding. The other issue Kristen Connor brought up about the lack of access to capital in rural areas. So, you could have great ideas, but if you don't have funds to do some of these things. So it led to us talking about maybe the Oregon Bankers Association or somebody would be able to present to banks about maybe doing a pilot project to help provide a pilot around access to capital.
I'll go next. We talked some about how it's sort of an artificial distinction, and how actually there are many people who have lived in both places that have journeyed from one to the other. And, you know, how do we explore our identities a little bit more around that? Could those of us that have that experience get together and talk more about, you know, kind of what that has looked like in our lives?
I think, did we get all the urban rural groups? Okay. I'm going to go first because our group talked about the fact that.
Let me just say, Lisa, we turned out to have a mixed group because Susan and I both changed at the last moment to urban rural, but we got put into a statewide policy. So we had a big conversation.
Sorry about that.
No,
Kathleen, you just completely led into what I was going to say. The very first point that was made in our group was these two issues are not insular, they are interconnected. And so I think there's opportunity there for us to dive deeper into that concept. And we floated some great ideas, which we'll take back, but I also just want to share one thing that one other ALF class does, or ALF chapter does. There's a couple of them actually that are doing something called political circles, where they invite people from people all across the political spectrum to commit to, I think it's 4 or 6 convenings in a row. They can choose their own rhythm. And what they do is they pick one issue and dive really deep into it, and do the research, do sort of assign work around that issue. And it's been really valuable for the people who participated. So we talked about in our group about the possibility of the really diving deep into the concept of dialogue as a way to unite statewide policymakers. So I don't know if any of my other group mates want to add anything, but those were sort of 2 of the big things that floated to the top.
And other state policy groups, Lisa's or another one?
Well, just a comment. This is Bill Thorndike from with Kathleen and Susan. Both of us were kind of scratching our heads because up to about 10 years ago, and I can't remember who the sponsor was, but we would go out and spend 2 days in a community to learn more about it. And I did Elkton and Prineville. And I can't remember who the sponsor was. I know it was funded by like OCF, et cetera. But it was a wonderful experience to go into, like Elkton and, work with Carolyn Whipple, or, to go over to the Prineville area and meet with the fine people over there. But it was a really super deal. And what was unique about it, it was predicated on at least having, I believe, 1 or 2 legislators in each of the groups. So again, it really worked to try and integrate in some of that statewide policy work that we expect our legislators to do, and better understanding the world of rural Oregon and stuff. So boy, if there's some way you could do some research back into that and see if that could be resurrected, I think it would be very powerful.
Thanks, Bill. Can I ask a quick clarifying question? Were you saying that state legislators were with ALF Senior Fellows learning about the community together? Is that sort of the format?
I can't remember who was the sponsor, but it was across, needless to say, it had lots of ALFies in there, but it was across the board. And I can't remember who the sponsor was. And we ran it over, I think, 2 or 3 years, if my memory serves me right.
Is there any
I think
chance,
Vicki knows.
Vicki, do you know who it was?
I don't, but I remember that project. It must have been class 9 or 8. I mean, it was fairly early, and it did go on for some years.
It wasn't 9. I'm wondering if it was Robin Teeter's group who ran those. But anyway, we can figure that out.
Yeah, I think it was before Robin, but that was really interesting because I've thought about that to try to figure out who did that.
That's great. That's a great model. Thank you, Bill, for bringing that up.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We know your time is pulled in many directions, and so huge gratitude for joining us, sharing your thoughts, reflecting. You'll get a survey shortly, and please take a moment to complete it. Lisa, what else?
Just a quick thank you, gratitude, and an opportunity to do something really fun. You may have seen in our recent newsletters, we are collecting talent videos from the Senior Fellow Network. So I just want to invite if any of you have any kind of talent, if you sing, spoken word, if you juggle, if you play an instrument, if you can dance, if you do gymnastics, but anything you have, we're just putting together something really fun and lighthearted for the gala. 30-second video. There's instructions to how to do it in emails that you'll continue to get and you have gotten from us, but it's just going to be a really fun, lighthearted part of our event this year. So anything you have to bring as far as talent is concerned, we'd love to see it. And mark for May 22nd. Mark that on your calendar for our gala. And that's it. Thank you, thank you, thank you all so much. And we'll continue to have gatherings where we give you a say and help us chart our course forward. So thanks for taking the time today.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.